sure this starts working. Alright, starting. Stream health is green. We are now live. Just got the thing from there. So, alright, we are. You ready to start?
Absolutely.
Alright, so we are ready to go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to Geekvice episode 155, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph, that man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
How are you doing, good sir, on this 2 weeks before Christmas and the crazy time of year that is December?
It is crazy. I'm freezing my butt off right now. Jeez.
Well, and it's warmer today than it's been in the last few days, so
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know
the,
that you've got an excuse for that one.
the good news is, it started happening last year, and this year it just got worse, and that is when the weather gets below 40, my garage door won't go down unless I hold the button down on the wall
Oh,
in to override the sensors.
right.
I thought this is kind of odd. I re-greased the chain, I adjusted all the tension, and it still wouldn't go down the way it's supposed to. So replaced the sensors, and now my garage door works like a charm. So yay for me on that one.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
It
Yeah,
just seemed weird that it was the sensors. It's like
yeah.
wouldn't this happen if it was warm out too? But apparently they contract just enough that a connection got loose and
Huh.
made
And
my life.
having garage door openers that work are, it's just nice when you have them, but it really sucks when you don't. When you're used to being able to just drive right in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a first world problem. I realize that, but it's fixed. I'm a happy camper.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Yeah, oh, this last week has just been crazy. I haven't got to do a whole lot other. Well, again, last week I talked about this too. Not doing a whole lot. Like I really can't. I really can't say that. I've been doing a bunch of stuff, but really nothing geek centric other than just playing Civilization 6. Again, that ate up a lot of my time. I played it a lot this weekend. We were supposed to be traveling, and this weekend we did not. So um, I took advantage of it by playing a lot of Civilization 6 and watching a lot of sports. So
Sounds pretty good to me.
yeah, I got to watch the MLS Cup Finals on Saturday night against the Seattle Sounders and Toronto FC. That was a fun game to watch. Went into penalty kicks, so it's anytime you get a shootout for to get a to decide who the champion of the entire league is, it makes for an interesting time. So
Yeah, I remember when Sporting KC won it that way.
yes, yes, I was at that game and that was cold. So colder than what they said, colder than Thursday night when the Raiders were in town for the Chiefs game. So all those Chiefs fans out there complaining about how cold it was, they don't even know.
Yeah.
So all right, but the big thing that we were doing. So this last week, my wife and I were talking about it, and what we like to do is we like to try to have in the weekends. We try to find either a movie or a game, like we have a family game night or we do family movie night. And with as hectic and crazy as our weeks have been, she's been super busy with work stuff. We've been super busy with kids stuff, so we really didn't have any time to really play a board game. or to get the kids to sit still long enough to play it because they just get so tired they won't sit still. But we can get them to sit still for a movie. So we were looking for a movie that was something that still kind of in that PG range, but not your typical kids movie. We wanted something that we would enjoy watching too. And across my Facebook feed, one of the sponsored advertisements was about the show called The Librarians. And I think I had seen one of the movies. There's three movies. They're in their third season of the TV show. I think I'd seen the movie because it was a made for TV movie on TNT. And, I was like, I think I remember this being kind of like Indiana Jones, but since it was made for TV, it was kind of toned down a little bit. Not as we didn't have to worry about some of the scenes that are in some of the Indiana Jones ones. I didn't want to have to try to explain Nazi Germany and things that come up in those Indiana Jones movies to my 7-year-old or my 4-year-old. 4-year-old being kind of the critical point here. And so I decided to get the Librarian movies, and we watched the first one over this weekend. It's called The Librarian Quest for the Spear. And the spear that they are on a quest for is the Spear of Destiny. And this is very much like, I guess it's a cross between Warehouse 13 and Indiana Jones. So, for those of you who've watched Warehouse 13, it's about all these ancient artifacts that have magic powers. Each person who did something in history had one of these artifacts that allowed them to do something extra special. So, in the Librarian, these artifacts have kind of the same thing. There's the Ark of the Covenant that they see and that they show in there. There's Excalibur that's in the that is actually in the stone, and it's magical in the sense that it's kind of sentient and can actually pull itself out of the stone and attack somebody if needed. Um,
I need to get one of those.
yeah, exactly. And then there was a couple other artifacts that they just kind of showed in passing and made some kind of comment about it. The movie stars Noah Wyle and Sonia Walger. Also has, then this is the best part, has Bob Newhart in it. So that's always cool when you have Bob Newhart in a movie. Um, and the bad guy is played by Kyle MacLachlan. So a lot of people that when you watch it, you're like, oh, I know that guy. Um, or, oh, I know that girl. There's a lot of those in there. Um, the premise is that Noah Wile's character, named Flynn, is basically a guy who's like a lifelong student. All he wants to do is to go to school and to learn more. He's got a bunch of different degrees. He's 30 something years old and still lives with his mom because he's still going to school. And he's selected, he gets an invitation to apply for this job as the librarian or at the Metropolitan Library. And he goes and, ends up getting the job as the librarian, and they explain to him that as the librarian you are responsible for basically saving the world. There's these artifacts that are out there that evil is um, trying to take for their own use, and it's up to the librarians to stop them. And there's only one librarian at a time, basically. So the last one has died, and they needed a new librarian. So that's why they go find Flynn.
Kind of like the doctor.
Yes, yeah. So it's really kind of interesting. It's a lot of fun. This is not something that if you're looking for a historically accurate movie, don't go watch this. If you're looking for a high budget movie, don't go watch this. This is a made for TV movie, and it is very clear in several scenes that this is a made for TV movie. There's one point where they jump out of a plane, and he ends up Sonya Walger's character Nicole ends up being the muscle of the group, and Flynn is the brains. So Nicole pushes Flynn out of a plane. She jumps out after him, grabs him, pulls a parachute, and they go floating down. And watching just that scene, you're like, "Yep, definitely made for TV." You can. It was almost like if you watched close enough, you can see the green screen moving. It was one of those, but it's just entertaining. It's just something that was fun and um, just something a little different, something that was able to we were able to watch with the kids because of its rating and because of its ideas. There is some violence. They do fight. Um, Kyle MacLachlan's character does end up getting killed. He gets smashed by the top of a pyramid, but there. You don't see any blood. You don't see any guts. You don't see anything really too over the top, and it's it's on TNT, so take it for there.
Fair enough.
Have you seen this movie at all, or any of these movies?
I have not. I mean, I've been seeing. This is the sad part about it. I'd seen commercials for the Librarians, the TV show, and did not
Right.
realize there was movies as
Yeah.
well.
So I believe, from my understanding, the movies were made first. This movie was made in 2004, and the second was 2006, and the third was 2008. And then from there, the movies were popular enough that they spun the made-for-TV movies off into a TV show. Um, I have not seen the TV show yet. It's on our list of things to watch, and we'll probably end up watching some of those. We'll probably start watching those after we get through the movies. But I mean, it's TNT, and it can't be any worse than watching stuff that's on Sci-Fi. So I'm in for it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun.
It looks good. It looks like one of those things that, at least the TV show, like something I would really enjoy watching. Just never have taken the time,
Yeah.
but may have to now. Going to have a lot of time here in the next couple of weeks, so
Right.
you never know what I'll watch.
Yeah, and these are on Amazon Video. They are to purchase or to rent. They're not on the free, or they weren't as of when I was looking for them. So, but if you keep an eye on them, they might show up there at some point too, and they might be on a few other streaming services. They're not on Netflix because nothing from TNT is on Netflix. But I don't have Hulu, so they might be on Hulu or something like that. You'll just have to take a look.
Yeah, there's
But
always that.
if you're looking for the movies, make sure you type in The Librarian, singular, one person. If you want the TV shows, you add the S at the end of it, Librarians. So I'm guessing there's multiple. There's a team of librarians in the TV show. But
And the Dewey Decimal System is their superpower.
yes, yeah, and it's actually, there are some quick-witted things in there that are actually kind of funny. Noah Wiley does a pretty good job. I liked him in ER, and I think that's part of the reason why we ended up. I've seen parts of this, before, because 2004 would have been towards the end of ER's life, or a little bit after ER, so he's probably on the high from that and the popularity from that. But there's some quick-witted things in there, especially referencing Dewey Decimal System and all the different library type things. There's lots of puns and knowledge stuff that they just throw out there just for the hell of it. So, um,
Gotcha.
kind of fun. And the librarian is actually way smarter than the rest of us. Of course, that's what they make him seem. If somebody can actually be as smart as he is in that, I would be yet to see. So it would be kind of cool. So go check that out. The Librarian: Quest for the Spear.
The Spear of Destiny. Has there ever been another kind of spear in a movie other than the Spear of Destiny?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I,
Just checking.
yeah, I don't think so. And I'm gonna have to hit pause here real quick. Apparently, I have a dog that's outside. I'm gonna go grab my dog real quick, and I'll be right back.
Is this where we play the Jeopardy theme? Da, da, na, 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 na. Dog's like, heck with this. It's cold outside. Yeah, this is what happens. This is why you don't own a dog. You get a cat. And he's back.
And I'm back. I'm back. All right. You didn't even miss me, and you watched me doing it if you're watching on the YouTubes, the YubTubes.
Yub dubs.
So, all right, Mr. Kip, you went to the movie theater because that's what you do is go to the movie theater.
Yeah, I'm
So,
actually allowed to leave the house. It's nice.
so what did you go see this weekend?
We saw Arrival. And I have to say, one of the better sci-fi movies I've seen in a while. Um, Stars Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. And the premise is aliens show up on Earth all of a sudden. Well, at least their craft does. Well, at least crafts. There's 12 of them all over the globe. So, of course, people are panicking, thinking Independence Day kind of deal, where they
Right.
show up over these cities and blow everything up. Well, at least the one in America, I think it's Montana, out in the middle of where Montana. So if they did fire their main weapon, maybe a couple of cows die. So I'm not thinking that.
Wasn't high on the priority list right there.
I don't think invasion was the purpose for them being there. At least either that or they wanted to take everybody else out and then let America run the world. I don't know, but. Getting off base, the reason Amy Adams is brought in is because she is, I guess, the world's foremost linguist, and they've been trying to communicate with the aliens on the ship, but they can't really figure out what they're saying, if they're saying anything. Basically, the aliens sound like whales, we'll just go ahead and say.
Okay.
Yeah. So they bring her in to try to help communicate, or even to communicate at all. And then they bring in Jeremy Renner because he's a theoretical physicist. And as soon as he said that, I thought, you know what? People didn't even know there was such a thing as theoretical physicists until the Big Bang Theory. Now they're everywhere. But that was Jeremy Renner. So the whole movie is really about Amy Adams trying to communicate with the aliens, and the way she goes about it is pretty cool. It's one of those sci-fi movies that there really is no action scene, but the movie was still pretty tense. Pretty much not really on the edge of your seat, but really on edge, hoping they get this figured out before the rest of the world just goes, screw it, they're here to attack, and then we attack first kind of a thing.
Right.
So the clock is ticking the whole time. It's a very melancholy movie. It's filmed, I think, with a gray filter on it because it just seems like it's gray and cloudy all the frickin' time. And maybe that's just Montana. I don't know. Yeah, maybe when you go to Montana, you just feel like that. But
Right.
I highly recommend this movie because it is kind of telling about language, for one. You learn a few things, at least what Hollywood terms as useful information as far as language goes. And then you also see kind of the world reaction, the way Hollywood would see it as well. And it gets you to thinking, how would the world react to this? In the movie, it's not a good reaction.
Right.
There's looting. There's people flocking to churches and mosques, praying to a higher power, I guess, to save them, even though there's nothing to save them from. And it makes you think, is that exactly what would happen, or at least a close proximity of what would happen? And if something like that did happen, what would my reaction be? Um, I know one thing for sure. I would not loot. That would not be on the top of my list. I wouldn't run to a church or a synagogue or a mosque or whatever and start praying to a higher power, because then I would figure out the higher power just landed. Religion's out the window. Well,
Right.
anybody who knows me anyway knows was out the window before the aliens showed up. But still, the jig is up at that point.
Yeah.
The one group that I really would think I would not want to be in, but I would probably would do it, and that is the group that tries to show up to see the craft.
Yeah.
I think that's where I would end up. So I wouldn't take main roads or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I would try to find a back way in, because that's the kind of person I am. Haha, joke there. Anyway, what would your reaction be, you think, Morph, if all of a sudden 12 alien spacecrafts are showing up all over the planet?
Um, I would probably just sit back and, you know, keep doing what I'm doing. And, um,
Would you go to work?
eh, yeah, probably. I mean, still have to make money. I still have to pay bills. I mean, just
Yeah,
because
see,
the
that's
aliens are there doesn't mean the bills all stop. I,
when they first show up in the movie, Amy Adams is a professor at a college. And when the news first breaks, she gets to her class. She has no idea what's going on. There's like great big auditorium. There's like 10 to 20 people in there. Probably not even that many. And they're all kind of halfway paying attention. And then all of a sudden, all their phones start going off. And at that point, she's lost the class. And, the word comes out what's going on. And the next day, she goes back and there's nobody in the auditorium. I kind of picture work being that way. You're at work,
yeah,
especially me. I listen to my iTunes on my way to work, so I wouldn't hear a radio
right.
broadcast to save my life. And after everybody leaves work, they'd be like, "Well, I guess I should go home too." And then the next day, I would show up to work, and there'd be nobody there. I could see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like if just the ships show up, if it's just spaceships that show up and there's no aliens that come out of them and they don't do anything, they just sit there. I, I mean, I might be glued to the TV. I guess I might do that. I don't know that I would go. I don't know that I would load everybody up and go to one of them. But I would definitely be watching the news and following what's going on. I kind of, you know, it's kind of any sort of national catastrophe type thing. I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is like September 11th, when that happened. I remember exactly what I was doing. I mean, I was waking up, getting ready for, I think it was my last year at college, and when that happened, and I remember, waking up, hearing about it, and I still went to class. Like, I still went went to school. I went about my day. I mean, it didn't happen in my city. I was in Springfield, Missouri. You know, there wasn't any risk of anything happening where I was at. So it was just like, yeah, that happened and that's terrible. But I just still went about my day as, and followed the news on my phone and that kind of stuff. This was before Twitter. Um, I don't think it was before Facebook. I think Facebook was around then. Maybe. Maybe
I don't
not.
know if it's or not.
No. I think maybe no, because I think that might have been MySpace time. I think there might have been a MySpace. That might have even been before MySpace.
I don't know. That was before I paid any attention to social media.
Yeah, so well, that's what I mean. I think the only way I got news was just text messages and things like that. Just people sending stuff that were
Well,
watching. But
I was
so
at work, and the I think I went to the Yahoo page,
yeah,
and there was a little blurb said plane crashes into the World Trade Tower, and my reaction was, "What a fucking moron!" Because I pictured like one of those little two seaters, and the guy just ran into the World
right.
Trade Center.
Just not paying any attention,
Yeah,
fell asleep at the wheel
exactly.
type thing.
And then a couple of minutes later, I checked it again. It said second plane hits it, and it's like, okay, something is up. And we
Right.
we were on the fourth floor, and we went down to the first floor where they had a TV, and then we saw what was going on. And at
So
that point, the work day was over. I mean, we didn't go home, but we pretty much just sat there and watched the TV for
right.
probably 4 or 5 hours.
And so my guess is that the aliens landing is going to be something similar to that. Other than the hopefully the nobody dies. I haven't seen this movie, so I'm assuming they just land and nobody really knows about it. They just see them land. But my guess is the reaction's going to be something like that. So that first day, I'm going to sit there, maybe not go to work, maybe just watch the TV, find out what's going on, and then the next day it's going to be like, well, we still got to keep doing what we're doing,
Yeah.
and we'll find out what happens when they decide to communicate or open the door.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure my reaction. I mean, I see your point, and I do remember, what happened on 9/11, but to me, it's different. There's a lot of questions all of a sudden are going to be answered by one event.
Yeah,
9/11, nothing was answered. It was all questions brought up.
right.
Now we're actually looking at an answer, and I think I'd want to be there.
And
Even
that's
if the
true.
door opened up and a big bomb fell out and we all died, I think I would still be okay with that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. Now, so the whole idea of this movie. I mean, I've seen the trailer for this thing, and I kind of looked at it. I'm like, well, it kind of looks interesting. Is this movie really this good? Like, is it really that good?
I think it is. I mean, if you're hoping for Independence Day, you're not gonna get what you think you're gonna get. If you're looking for something that really makes you think and something that kind of gives you some hope and also kind of messes with your mind a little bit, if you're like that kind of thing, you're gonna really like this movie.
Hmm.
There's some things that make you think. There's some things that you're like, I'm not sure what just happened, or I think I know, but I may not really know what just happened. And then there's some things that happen. You're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Really wish something like that would happen for us. So it's one of those kind of a movies. It's more thought provoking than it is action. In fact, there's no action whatsoever. I guess it's just a tell on human nature a little bit, and it's a kind of a guess on alien motivation.
Right. So so do the aliens ever become a character in the movie, or are they more just there? Is it more just about how the human race responds and reacts to this idea that aliens are there about or that the aliens are showing up?
Actually, they are characters, not in the sense of like the movie Paul or anything like that.
Right.
It's they're there. You see them. You only know what they're saying because of the work Amy Adams has done. And even at that point, you're like, how accurate is she actually getting this kind of a thing? Yeah, they are characters. There's two of them
Okay.
that you see in the movie. Don't know how many's on this great big ship, but you see two of them. They're separated by this big piece of glass because their atmosphere is completely different than ours.
Okay.
So the aliens basically sealed off part of their ship so we could be on there, and then there's just this glass partition, and it's nothing but wispy clouds and stuff on the other side, and you could kind of see through the clouds, I guess, the aliens standing there. So I think they did it that way so it's just not over the top aliens being a character.
Right.
It's a more of here's something strange that nobody understands and we're trying to communicate with it. So this is what they're going to look like. So you really don't feel like you can relate to
Right.
them whatsoever.
Yeah,
And that's
you don't want to give them that you don't want them to be relatable or be personable, like personified in any way. You want to keep them as alien as possible.
and
That
they
makes
are
sense.
they're not humanoid whatsoever. So it's not like the Greys or anything like that.
Right.
It's completely not relatable as a human being. And then here's a person trying to communicate, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I don't know if I'm doing this movie any justice, but you may just have to take my word for it and take time to see that movie.
Well, it's gotten a lot of good reviews on Metacritic and on IMDb. Let's check out Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what they say.
Those
All
crazy
right.
kids at Rotten Tomatoes.
Clicking the link. It got a 93%. That's huge. So yeah, everybody else seems to be thinking it's really good too. So go see
Yeah,
that movie.
it's pretty cool, and I think it's getting pretty close to the end of its run in the theater. So because when we saw it, it was in this very tiny theater, and there's probably only 10, 15 people in it. So even this tiny theater wasn't full.
Right.
So it's getting close, but yeah. So if you get a chance, boy, it's still in the theater. Do it. I think you'll be happy you did.
Very cool. Very cool. Have to check that one out. So, uh, yeah, it's got me thinking. So, over this last couple weeks or last week, while I was looking for the topics for our shows, I ran across this article about Netflix, and it brought up two lines of thought for me when I just read the title, which the title is Netflix has tested your binge watching routine. Um, so the first thing that popped in my head was great. Netflix is monitoring what we're doing, but really, are you surprised by that? They give you there's an algorithm that's watching everything that you're doing on Netflix so that they can recommend things for you. So that really can't be all that surprising. Uh, but the part as I got to reading about it was it said that Netflix has analyzed the viewing data of over 86 million users in 190 countries between January and October of 2016 and found some similarities between their viewing habits. So this is the part that I think is funny is or just interesting is what they're doing is they're taking these and they're saying, okay, this person has binge watched this show. What is the next thing that they're going to watch? And it's perfect. This is what their algorithms do. This is how Netflix knows how to recommend certain things and what to throw up on your spotlight on on the Netflix app or Netflix website. to try to get you to watch the next thing. So it said one example is um, it found that 61% would watch a movie and then they would turn and watch something that was opposite of it. So, for example, they cited that some would watch Beasts of No Nation after watching House of Cards, or moved from things like Gilmore Girls to then watching um, after watching Gilmore Girls after a rom com, like a classic romantic comedy type movie. So I thought it was interesting, and they put in this article, which there's a link in the description for this, to this article, and they have a little infographic of the different pairings that they have. They call them binge pairings, um, which is kind of funny. You know, it's kind of like another example of this is watching your horror movie and then turning around and watching a comedy right afterwards. That palate cleanser type thing. So it's kind of funny seeing the connections that are made here. So things like watching Stranger Things followed up by a movie, watch the movie Zootopia. Now, how those two things correlate, I have no idea, but I find it funny that people are watching Stranger Things and then turning around and watching Zootopia. Um, it also goes on to say that people who binge watch an entire TV series or a season, like watching, like Stranger Things, turn around and watch a movie right then after. They don't go season to season to season necessarily, or TV show type. Let me rephrase that. They don't go from episodic show to another episodic show. They typically go episodic to movie to back to episodic.
Yeah, it says they once they finish a season, once they binge watch a season, they take a 3 day break from a episodic show again and watch a movie.
Yeah.
I found that 3 day break fascinating. Also made me wonder if that 3 day break was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It very well could be. And I thought it was really funny because I don't fit into this category at all. It got me thinking about what I watch, and um, I guess it depends on if I'm assuming this is going to still be broken down by account. So, at my house, we have three Netflix accounts. You can have I guess, your sub accounts or users. So we have three different users. We have a kids user, we have our family user, and then we have an adults user. Basically, the kids know that they are not allowed to watch things on the adult user because that's the channel that we watch the movies that they can't watch, so that they don't show up as recommended on the family channel. And the reason why they also have a family channel is because you can't watch shows like you can't watch movies like The Sandlot is not in the kids Netflix. It has to be in the adults Netflix. So, or
The Sandlot?
yes, yeah, because it's
Really?
not rated G. It's rated PG.
Oh.
So anything that, like, and I don't know that it falls for anything, but I think there's something that causes that to get moved over. Same thing with the Mighty Ducks. The Mighty Ducks does not fall in the kids category. It has to be in the regular version of Netflix. So there's some interesting things on how they work all that out, but some of these pairings I thought were really funny. So they did have Gilmore Girls is the TV show. Then they go to the Princess Bride movie, which to me,
That
I
makes
think
sense.
that fits. That makes sense.
It also goes to 16 Candles, so
Yeah,
that also makes sense.
right. Things like Breaking Bad to Pulp Fiction. That makes sense. Um, some of these shows, some of these movies I hadn't even heard of. Like, I don't know what The Spotlight is or The Big Short. I don't know what those are, and I didn't bother going looking them up.
Yeah.
But I think the funniest one is still going from Stranger Things to Zootopia. Just the fact that, and this was a big enough this was a big enough sampling of people doing that it made it on this list, because it's not every movie. There's only 7 movies on here, 8 movies on here, and 8 TV shows. Um, so it's not. This isn't all the pairings out there. This is just like the highlighted pairings. So, it, how do you think this fits in with your viewing of Netflix, there, Kip?
Well, the funny thing about it is if I binge watch, say, House of Cards, um, I think I just move on to something else,
Yeah,
another TV show. I don't think I take the 3 day break. And I haven't seen Beasts of No Nation, so I don't fit into that pairing whatsoever. But some of these just totally make sense. Like if you watch Narcos, a lot of people didn't watch Pulp Fiction. Totally makes sense.
yeah,
Uh, I don't know. I'm like you. If I do get the chance to binge watch something, chances are I'm still in that mode, and I'll just want to binge watch another TV show, and I'll just
yeah.
yeah, because we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Amazon, we have HBO Go. There's just too many opportunities just to pick up another show and just run, and
Right.
that's what we do.
Well, and that's what I watch more of than movies anyway. I've got a huge long list of movies that I want to watch, but finding the time to sit down where I have that much time. I also don't binge watch TV shows really. The most I will watch of TV shows is usually 2 episodes. I usually don't get too much more than that because, again, if I don't have 2 to 2.5 hours to sit down and watch a movie, I probably don't have more than that to watch a TV show as well. Um, so I usually only get,
True.
and TV shows that I'm watching, things like I'm watching Supergirl right now. Supergirl are 42-minute long episodes. So watching 2 of them, they're done in an hour and a half, and I'm able to move on. But even those, I have yet to watch a Supergirl. I've yet to watch 2 Supergirl episodes back to back. Um, I am watching The Blind Spot right now. That's a big one that I'm trying to get caught up on, and I have watched a couple of those back to back. But again, 42 minutes long, hour and a half. That's still less time than most movies that I want to watch. Um,
And that's fair. I mean, you have two small kids and limited resources as far as time goes.
yeah,
Plus, Civilization 6 takes all your time.
it does. It does.
Yeah, if the wife and I, it's just us and two cats, so we will watch a lot of TV shows. So
Right. And I'm already planning when the kids get a little bit older that I can watch, that some of these can be binge watched a little bit more because the kids can binge watch them with us. Going and I really want to go back and watch more Doctor Who, and I want to watch them with the kids because I think the kids would like them. But I need the 4-year-old to get a little bit older because I think he might be a little scared from mannequins attacking people or giant tin cans going after people. So I don't need him to be afraid of can openers. Let's put it that way.
you just don't want to be woke up in the middle of the night because your son had a nightmare and he wants to sleep with mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, we already ran into that once. We tried to watch the new Ghostbusters movie, and was not having that one. The visual effects of that movie freaked him out. He's like, "Nope, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore." Like, fair enough. So we went and watched the original ones. Those are way better.
There's still, imagine, a couple of episodes in the original, or a couple of scenes in the original that Could spook a 4-year-old.
I think because they're cheesy enough, he wasn't scared of them. Because it's more of a practical effect, and you could almost kind of tell that some of the stuff wasn't real. Um, where the visual effects in the latest Ghostbusters is pretty top notch, especially when they make the ghosts come out looking like something innocent and not a big deal, and then changing into a freakish, ghost appearance. That's
Like the librarian in the first one.
yeah, yeah, kind of. Yep, that's probably good. That's a good point there. So, and I think I remember Conley throwing up the blanket over his head during that first part. So,
Yeah, I really think that's the only one that probably would scare a little kid in the first one, I
yeah,
think.
because a lot of the times it's just it's Slimer running through somebody and sliming them. It's the
Or the
this
stuffed marshmallow man.
exactly, which he absolutely loves. If I could find a Marshmallow Man action figure, he would be in heaven. So
Sweet.
anyway, so that's what we got. All this information from Netflix is out there. It came out. The reason it came out was from a conference in New York over the last week or so, and it it also goes on to mention that they are looking for um, the company is adding. Netflix is trying to add more original content to its streaming service. Hopes to add more than 1,000 hours of content. And here is also the interesting part. They want to add around 20 unscripted reality type shows within the next year. That I am curious about. If those are original Netflix things, I I would be surprised. I think the reality shows are. I think they're going downhill. I think that fad is slowly going out.
Yeah, I was
But
hoping it would be dead by now, but it's not.
I sure hope so, man. I freaking hate those shows. They're awful.
They're terrible. I
So,
agree.
so that is what we have for you tonight.
Da da da!
So, you got anything else you want to throw out there to these lovely folks?
You know what? I would love it if somebody would email us and tell us what they think what they would do if aliens showed up. I would
That
be curious what other people think.
that is a great idea. And you know what? People out there listening to us who want to email us, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. You can also follow us on our blog over at geekvice.blogspot.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/geekvice. You can follow that man over there at Kip Killigan on Twitter. You can follow me at Geekvice. And of course, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates and notifications when we go live. So you can come and join us, and then you can even make comments and chat with us while we're doing the show. You can find our YouTube channel at tiny.cc/geekvice. And again, one more time, email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everybody for listening to the show, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.